Ashley and welcome to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be tackling a series I've been wanting to read for a long time now, and that series is this one, The Dark Artifices by Cassandra Clare. So my journey into the Shadowhunter world started a long time ago, back when I was in high school with the first 3 Mortal Instrument books. So I read these and I actually thought when I finished these that this was the end of the story, but I didn't find out until years later that there were actually 3 more books in the series. And so it wasn't until 2020, which was the year I got back into reading because my work shut down for 3 months, so I suddenly had a lot of free time. And in 2020 I ended up picking up the Infernal Devices trilogy, and I ended up loving this series so much that it made me want to read the Mortal Instruments again. So in 2021 I read all 6 of these, and then that led me to reading these 2 books, which are about Magnus and Alex's relationship. And then from there I read The Last Hours, which I still need to read. Chain of Thorns that just came out recently. But yeah, so that's been my Shadowhunter journey so far. So I'm super excited to start this trilogy because I bought these Fairy Loot editions back in 2021, and I had wanted to read this last year, but I just never got around to it, so I'm finally going to be tackling these this year. So I've pretty much managed to avoid spoilers for this trilogy so far. I just know that it follows Emma and Julian, who were introduced at the end of the Mortal Instrument series, and I really liked their characters in that series. So I'm hoping that I'm going to love this trilogy as well. I'm sure it'll be full of drama and heartbreak because it is a Cassandra Clare book, so it should be a ride. So in addition to reading these 3 books in this video, I'm also going to be doing some baking, and I thought it would be fun to bake things inspired by these covers, so specifically to bake things like with these colors in the covers. So like bake something that's blue, bake something that's purple, and bake something that's pink. And also I want to make a trip to Target too, so I can pick up Chain of Thorns, the 3rd book in The Last Hours. So yeah, but I'm gonna start with this one, the first one, Lady Midnight. But before I start reading, I'm gonna grab some lunch, and then after I eat, I'm gonna hop into this. So I got my lunch, and it's just some leftover pasta from dinner last night. It's just pasta in an olive oil sauce with garlic, olives, and chicken. So I'm gonna eat this and then get to reading. Hi, so I'm back with a reading update. I have made it to page 58, chapter 3. And so far it's interesting. So far, these last 58 pages just have been like a lot of like setting up the story and a lot of exposition. There's been a lot of refresher information about the Shadowhunter world and their customs and their laws. And I also found it very interesting that the prologue is not from the point of view of Julian or Emma, but from Kit, who is the son of Johnny Rook, and Johnny Rook is an information dealer who works in the shadow market. And then in the prologue, Emma ends up showing up to get some information from Johnny Rook. And then we find out Emma is still investigating the deaths of her parents that happened when she was 12. So I think that would have been about 5 years ago, because I think she is 17. And so the death of her parents, she doesn't believe that the person that the Clave thought killed her parents is actually the person who killed her parents. So all these years she's been investigating their deaths and trying to get to the bottom of their deaths and to figure out the truth behind their deaths. And now it seems that she might have finally found a breakthrough in her investigation. So she finds a body that looks like it was killed in the same way that her parents were killed. So now she might have a new piece of information to help her figure out the truth behind her parents' death. And also we learn that Julian has been away in England visiting one of his relatives. And at the end of chapter 2, Julian and his family has just come back from England. And you can tell that Emma is starting to develop feelings for him, which is a no-no because her and Julian are parabatai, and one of the rules is you can't have romantic feelings for each other. So our heart-wrenching romance is already getting started. So that's about where I'm at. I'm going to take a break now and go make some cookies. So it's the next day and I have a reading update and also a cookie update. So I made these cookies yesterday and they're blue crinkle cookies. They're not quite the same shade of blue as the book, but they're blue. And they're pretty good. They have a lemon taste to them because I put lemon juice and lemon zest in them, and they're more like a cakey cookie. So that's the cookies. And for the book, I have gotten to page 208, chapter 9. Emma is just starting to realize her feelings for Julian, that they're romantic, and hasn't completely realized that yet. whereas Julian is completely aware of his feelings for her and tries to just like shove them down because he knows it's against the law, the Shadowhunter law, to have such feelings. And I just love the whole dynamic and bond between them. They complement each other really well because Emma is the impulsive one, whereas Julian is the more logical one who thinks before he acts. And in that way, they remind me a lot of Jem and Will from the Infernal Devices. I also adore Julian's siblings as well. Each of them are well developed with their own quirks and personalities, and I already feel super attached to them. And their bond with each other and Julian and Emma is just so precious. I also love that we've already had either appearances of or mentions of characters from other Shadowhunter novels. For example, Magnus Bane has already made an appearance in this book, and that makes me really happy because he's one of my favorite characters in the Mortal Instruments, so I always love seeing him in the other Shadowhunter books. And then also there's already been mention of Jem and Clary and Jace, and even Cortana. Emma's sword reminds me of the Last Hour series and Cordelia. And that's just like one of my favorite things about the Shadowhunter books is just seeing how interconnected they all are and how they affect each other. I also feel that this book has been well paced. The plot has been steadily moving along while also giving time for character interactions and development. So that's where I'm at with this so far. I'm gonna take a reading break for now because I need to get some chores done. And also I think there might be book mail in my mailbox, so I need to go check on that, and maybe I'll come back and do an unboxing. So popping back in, I went to my mailbox and there was indeed book mail in my mailbox, so I'm gonna open this. So it's a new fancy book, The Foxglove King by Hannah Whitten. And I'm super excited to read this because Hannah Whitten wrote For the Wolf, which I really enjoyed. And this is her new release. And this is a duology. I still have to read the second book that's about this main character's sister. I picked up this one. And this is the Barnes & Noble edition that has the colored map in it, which is super pretty, and this map might be why I bought this edition, because I saw a picture of it and I was like, that's so pretty. Ooh, and then look, the naked hardback is also really pretty. So yeah, that's my book mail, and now I'm gonna go do some cleaning. Hello, so I'm popping in again. I've got the dishes done, I got the kitchen table cleared off, got some laundry in, and I just wanted to show you something. So I've got these placemats here, they're new ones I just picked up. And I don't know about anyone else, but ever since I've gotten like a kitchen table, I've been like obsessed with changing out the placemats every so often. So I got these for spring. I thought they were really pretty. So I'm gonna put these on the table and get my table set back up after taking everything off so I could clean it up. So I got my kitchen table all put back together. So this is what it looks like. Hi, so I am back with a reading update. I have finished Lady Midnight. I just love this book so much from start to finish. I flew through it. I didn't want to put it down, and I was always just like, just one more chapter. And before I knew, I reached the end of it. And it really didn't feel like a 600-page book. It felt a lot shorter because of how fast I just flew through it. The climax of the book was thrilling, and it had me on the edge of my seat. I didn't guess at all who the villain was, and so I was surprised when I found out who it was. And this book just really reminded me why I love the Shadowhunter world so much. And for me, it's the characters and their interactions with each other and their interactions with the world that really makes the books for me. I feel that Cassandra Clare just excels at writing well-developed characters that feel like real people. And this book had so many lovable characters. There was Emma, Julian, and his whole family, and the bond between Emma, Julian, and his family is just so precious. Christina is also another one of my favorite characters. She is a shadow hunter from Mexico who comes to the Los Angeles Institute for her travel year. And Emma and Christina quickly become friends, and they soon become best friends. And I just loved reading about their friendship between the two of them. The romance in this book was also on point. There was heartwarming and heartbreaking scenes. We have our main couple, Emma and Julian, but there's also some other side characters as well that keep things interesting. Also, I was bracing myself for the entire book for the thing that would throw the wrench into the main couple's relationship, because it's a Cassandra Clare book, so our main couple has to go through lots of pain and suffering before they can finally be happy, which probably won't happen until the third book, and we're only on the first, so we still have a ways to go. And then that thing did happen at the very end, and even though I was expecting it and bracing myself for it, it still hurts. I also really liked how there were appearances from characters from other Shadowhunter books at the end of this book. So we get Jason Clary show up from the Mortal Instruments, and then also Jem and Tessa also make an appearance from the Infernal Devices. And as I said earlier in this video, I just really love it when characters cross over from other Shadowhunter books and appear in different Shadowhunter books. Overall, I love the start to this series. 5 stars for Lady Midnight. Hi, so I'm back with another reading update. I have started book 2, Lord of Shadows, and I've read a good chunk of it so far. I am now on page 317, chapter 16, and I've started part 2 of the book. So a lot has happened so far. There has been a rescue mission to Fairy, an attack on the Institute, some shocking character appearances, and even some deaths. And lots of relationship drama. There's been so much relationship drama so far. And I think the relationship drama is the one thing that is keeping me from enjoying this book as much as the first one so far. And it's just because some of the relationship drama is repetitive and it feels similar to things that already happened in book 1. But regardless, I am still really enjoying this book so far. One of my favorite things so far about this book has been reading from a certain character's perspective. This character ends up at the end of book 1 coming to the Institute, the Los Angeles Institute, and staying there, because at the end of book 1 they learn that they have Shadowhunter blood. But it's really interesting reading from their perspective because they have more knowledge of the mundane, regular people world than most Shadowhunters do. Also, this character hangs out with Ty and Livy a lot, so we get more of those two, and I've enjoyed reading more about their characters and getting to know more about them. And then there's just one thing about the writing style in a certain part of the book that I wanted to mention. So at one point in the book, Emma, Julian, Mark, and Christina go off somewhere, and everyone else stays at the Institute. Then in chapter 11, things are happening to these two groups, and the story keeps switching abruptly back and forth between them, and I'm not sure how I feel about this, because while I can see what it's trying to do, it's trying to show that these things are happening to these two different groups at the same time. At the same time, I felt like I was getting whiplash while reading it, so I kind of feel like I'd much rather have had one chapter from one group's perspective about what was going on to them, and then another chapter about the other group and what was happening to them. But anyways, those are just my personal thoughts about that. So anyways, that is where I'm at so far with this book. I did want to mention that I already made baked blueberry donuts, and I made a glaze for them that is purple, so it kind of matches the cover. So I will include footage of doing that next. Hi, so I'm back and I have a reading update for Lord of Shadows. I am now almost done. I'm on page 655, chapter 29, so I have about 50 pages left. And so things are happening, stuff is going down, we've like at the climax, it's super exciting. And also earlier I said that the romance drama felt like repetitive, but finally the romance drama has evolved and it's now like more new stuff, so it's actually super interesting now. So I'm gonna go finish this now. I am a little scared about how it may end, but the good thing is book 3 is already out and I have it, so I don't have to like wait a year or whatever for the next book to come out. Hi, so I just finished reading this and that ending was very devastating. Yep. So I'm gonna let that sink in and I will come back in a day or two with my final thoughts. Hi, so I am back, and the last time I updated it was Thursday night and now it's Saturday morning, so I've had a little bit of time to process the ending of this book. So now I'm going to talk about my final thoughts. So like the first book, I loved this book too, but just not quite as much as the first one, and that's because, as I mentioned before, this second book is a little repetitive and it's kind of a little similar in some ways to the first book. This book also had a lot of different perspectives going on, and I like reading from different characters' point of view, but the danger of that is sometimes you have perspectives that you're not as interested in. And for me, Julian and Emma's perspectives in this book were the least interesting. I just found what was going on in their perspectives was very similar to what happened with them in the first book. Other than their perspectives though, I really loved everyone else's. I love that we got more of Ty and Livy and a certain other character that joins their group. The whole Mark, Kieran, and Christina dynamic was very intriguing and fascinating. And additionally, I love that I got to learn more about Diana, and her and another certain character have like one of the most sweetest moments in the book, and it just made my heart really happy. So the plot progressed steadily in this one until about like the last 200 pages when things ramped up in intensity and then exploded at the end. So pretty much in the end, everything spirals out of control and everything goes horribly wrong, and something happens, and that thing is very heartbreaking and painful. And I wasn't expecting it to happen at all. Like, I was bracing myself for something to happen at the end, but not that. Because of that ending, I am extremely glad that I have the third book in my hands already and that I do not have to wait like a year or whatever for it to come out. And I'm hoping that this one will help heal my heart from the ending of the second one. At least I hope so. I'm sure there'll be more painful things in this, but hopefully the ending will be happy. One can only hope. Before I start the third book, though, I am going to take a trip to Target this morning so I can finally pick up Chain of Thorns, the third book in the Last Hour series. So before I read that one, I do want to reread these two, and before I reread these two, I kind of want to reread the Infernal Devices. But yeah, so let's go on a trip to Target. Hi, so I'm back and I got the book. I also saw some other books too while I was at Target that seemed interesting, but I was good and I only bought this one, the one that I went there for. And this Target I went to is one that I don't go to as much as the one I usually go to. So the one I usually go to is closer to my work, and I usually go there after work if I have to grab a few things. So I go to that one more often, but the one I went to today to get this book is closer to where I live. And actually that one is a bigger Target, and actually they had like more books there than the one that I usually go to, so that was fun to look at all the books. So I bought this book and then some other grocery things that aren't very interesting, but I also found these cute little plant socks. And something else that was exciting to me was they had my vanilla caramel chai tea there. And this is one of my favorite teas, and I always have chai tea for breakfast in the morning. And usually the Target that I go to only has the regular one and not the vanilla caramel. So I was excited to find this one at the Target that I went to today. So yes, that was my little Target trip this morning. I love going there early in the morning because I love when the store is just like quiet and there's not like a lot of people around. So I am going to start this book in a little bit. First I gotta do some like chores and cleaning, but then after I'm gonna hop into this. so I'm back with an update. It has been a week since my last update, and it's Saturday again. And I have read actually most of this book. I am on chapter 32, page 750 now. And I am definitely going to finish this today. And I've been loving this book. Like, so much has happened in this book. Things just keep happening. And the part I'm at now, I was actually reading the previous chapter yesterday while I was on lunch at work. And the way that chapter ended, it was like awful. I had to go back to work and I was like, no, I just want to read and finish. But I couldn't. And the end of that chapter was kind of mirroring the end of book 2. And I was like, oh no, let's not do that again. But yeah, so I'm going to finish this, and after I finish, I will come back with my final thoughts on this book and the series as a whole. Hi, so it's been almost a month since I finally finished Queen of Air and Darkness, the final book in the last Artifice series, and I'm finally back to discuss my final thoughts. So the ending of this book was pretty much everything that I wanted. We had an explosive climax where Tavi was super precious, and then the ending wrapped things up nicely with a heartwarming and special event taking place at the end. And most of the characters got their happy endings. I was particularly happy with how everything ended up with for Mark, Christina, and Kiernan, because the 3 of them quickly became my favorite characters in this series. And speaking of favorites, I think this might be my new favorite Shadowhunter series. So before reading this series, my favorite was the Infernal Devices, but now I think it might be this one. I just love the characters in this series so much, and I also love that we get to see characters like from all the other Shadowhunter books. So before reading this series, my favorite was the Infernal Devices, but now I think it might be this one. I just love the characters in this series so much, and I also love that we get to see characters like from all the other Shadowhunter books. So I feel that the Dark Artifices links all the other Shadowhunter series together, because you get Clary, Jace, Simon, Isabel, and Magnus and the Dark Artifices, who are from the Mortal Instruments, and you also get Tessa and Jem, who are from the Infernal Devices, and you even get mentions of Cordelia with Emma wielding her sword Cortana and Emma's middle name being Cordelia, so that links it to the last hours. So I just love all these little connections to the other books, because it just really makes it feel like one giant world, and I really like that. So I mentioned above that mostly everyone got their happy ending, but there were 2 characters in particular that did not. So that, along with the epilogue, which left some loose ends, made me very suspicious, and I was like, are there going to be more books? So I looked it up, and apparently there are going to be more books following those characters, and there's not really much more information about that yet, but I will definitely be reading that whenever it comes out. So yeah, like the other 2 books in this series, this was also a 5-star read for me, and I just love this book like I loved the other 2. So that's pretty much it for this vlog. Let me know down below if you have read this series, what you thought, what your favorite series is in the Shadowhunter universe. Just let me know down below. Thank you for watching. Bye.